Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Thank you so much for tuning in. Want to give a big thank you to everyone over the last weekend, all the kind words and the texts that myself, people on the crew have received. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Extreme Talk. Again, powered by Complete Real Estate, LLC, where experience and integrity matters. A big thank you to Sutton Pools, LLC, also for sponsoring our interviews all season long. And a big thank you to Fairlife Core Power Protein for helping us recognize young men all season long. Obviously, the show coming to you on a different day than normal. Usually we would have done it yesterday, but very hectic, busy weekend yesterday. Doing some moving around, had to get the crew on the road, and then myself and my family stayed down here in Florida. I'm helping with the 11-man tournament that they actually put on, doing a couple of other things, not broadcasting, but some PA work and a couple different little things like that. So always fun and always nice to give the family a couple days of something to look forward to, especially after the grind of a long season. Really kind of makes it worth it and puts a nice bow on the bulk of the season. Of course, we've got the Gatlinburg All-American Bowl Series coming up in December up at Rocky Top Sports World, and that'll be December the 14th. And, of course, we'll be up there before that for the practices. We'll do some mic'd-up practices and the opening ceremonies and all that good stuff. So. But this is really the bow of the bulk of the season. Well, let's talk about the most recent thing that happened, and that would be the NHFA tournament that just took place over this past weekend. Had first round of games on Thursday, second round on Saturday. Had some good games all throughout the tournament, I would say. I would say the majority of the games were a lot of fun to call, a lot of fun to watch. Every once in a while you get a game and it's like, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a mismatch, but all in all, I thought it was a great tournament. So let's recap the games that took place. On Thursday, first game of the day, 10 a.m., you had Southern Christian Patriots out of Opelika, Alabama, taking on the Coastal Hurricanes from Pembroke, Georgia, and Patriots all over the Hurricanes, 34-0. Second game of the day at 1 p.m., River Oak School out of Monroe, Louisiana, making the trip up here. I believe it was an 8-9 hour drive to take on Southern Prep Academy, the Fighting Rangers, that on Thursday. River Oaks 54-30 over Southern Prep. River Oaks, a team that went 10-0 during the season, had I would call it a recruitment miscommunication, misunderstanding, and due to the ruling of their association, the MAIS, they were disqualified. They had to forfeit a bunch of games and therefore didn't make the playoffs. But their association, to their credit, did support them in coming up here to the tournament, or over here to the tournament. And so they came up here on Thursday. They beat Southern Prep 54-30. Third game of the day at 4 p.m., it was Freedom Cowboys taking on the East Central Patriots. These two teams have played a couple times before, but this time it was Cowboys 58, East Central 48. It was a great ball game, and of course, all of these games you can go watch right here on 8-Man Extreme. And a big thank you to everyone who watched it live or has gone back and watched it. The numbers are incredible. So big shout out to everyone for the support. But Cowboys over the Patriots 58-48. And then the main event, last game of the day, was Pack Panthers taking on the Tennessee Heat, rematch of last year. Pack Panthers got the win in this one as well, 30-23 over the Tennessee Heat. Great game. Pack was actually up, I think, 30-7 at one point in the second half. I don't remember if it was third quarter or fourth quarter, but Heat, 2 touchdowns to climb back into the ball game and make it a one-score game. So a lot of good football being played on Thursday. And then on Saturday, almost said yesterday, on Saturday, So you had at 10 a.m. you had the Sun Bowl, the Division II consolation game branded as the Sun Bowl, Southern Prep Academy and the Coastal Hurricanes. Southern Prep 62-34 over the Hurricanes. So congratulations to the Fighting Rangers having some hardware to take back to Camp Hill. Second game of the day, it was East Central Patriots taking on the Tennessee Heat in the Victory Bowl. It's the rebranded D1 Consolation Victory Bowl. And what a ball game this was. I got to call this one. I called a couple other ones too, but I got to call this one, and it was a lot of fun. Or no, I didn't call this one. I was on video director for this one, and it was a lot of fun. East Central 43-40 over the Tennessee Heat. So congratulations to the Patriots, closing out the season with a win there. At 4 p.m., River Oak School and the Southern Christian Patriots first-time matchup. Got a chance to talk to both coaches on Sunday. Let me back up. On Friday on a special live edition of Extreme Talk that you can hear right here on 8-Man Extreme. But got the chance to talk to these two coaches, and it was a great conversation. I thought, it was, to me, it was funny. One of the questions I asked both coaches was, what's something that you're working on, preparing for to play your opponent. And Coach Barton from River Oaks, each coach brings a player with them to the interview, and the player gets asked questions. So for Southern Christian, Coach Jason Scott brought Jagger Scott. So Coach Barton looks at Jagger and he says, well, what number are you? He says 15. He said, I'm getting ready for 15. He goes, I thought that's what you were. He goes, that's the guy you got to get ready for. And then Coach Scott, at the same time, he mentioned, find where number 51 is, Kenneth Boston Jr., the Ole Miss commit. He said, find where he is and run the ball in the opposite direction of where he is. So it was a good interview, but congratulations to River Oak School, 52-22, winning the Division II championship bracket, and they got some hardware to take home to Monroe. And then the main event of Saturday, last game of the day, kicked off, I think, a little late. I think maybe 7:15 or so. What a ball game. I can't say enough. If you haven't watched it, or at least have watched the fourth quarter, right? If you don't have time to watch the entire game, okay, fine. But go watch the fourth quarter and the overtime period. I didn't know if I wanted to spoil it that it went to overtime, but go watch the fourth quarter and overtime. It was, in my mind, it's now in the top 3 ball games that I've watched and helped be a part of broadcasting. To me, it's better than 92-90. The Evangel Christian, Ezel Harding Christian game, national championship game in 2019. Obviously, both games went to overtime. It ended on a walk-off 2-point conversion, successful 2-point conversion. But this one had defense, right? This one had defense. This one had just incredible stories. You had Cam Yeomans going down in the first quarter. He's at the hospital watching the game on our broadcast. Shout out to Cam. Hope you're doing better, man. Hope you get to feeling better. Hope you're able to bounce back. But going down, watching the broadcast, so anytime the Pack guys did something for the rest of the game, they'd find the camera, throw up the 3 for Cam. On the other side, for Freedom, you had Logan Bryers go down in the first half. I think it might have been also the first quarter with a high ankle sprain. And then he comes back in the game in the second half, and he's just pushing through it. He's still trying to make plays. Jonathan Callan stepped up at quarterback for Freedom. Guys all over the place stepped up for Pack. I mean, they had some dudes already, but guys stepping up all over the place. In my mind, and I know that the 92-90 was fun. It was, touchdown, kickoff. This one, to me, had defense, and the developing story during the game of what all was happening. I think it was better. So, to me, this takes number 1 in terms of national championships, and maybe number 1 in terms of games I watched. It was incredible. So, if you haven't gotten a chance to go watch it, or at least the fourth quarter and the overtime period, I would highly suggest if you find yourself looking for something to do, want to watch some football, head right here on our YouTube channel. Go find that game and watch it. What an incredible game! And congratulations to the Pack Panthers winning the Division I championship. Getting a little bit of last year it didn't go the way they wanted it to against Evangel Christian, and this year taking care of business. And you know what? Shout out to the Freedom Cowboys, because that game, that they could have gone either way. I mean, really and truly could have gone either way. And Freedom was 0-2 in their national championship tries. Of course, they played Evangel both times. So coming up short, just 2 points. It's wild. But congratulations to the Pack Panthers on the win there. We'll do some social media posts this week. But real quick, I want to run through some of the champions that we have across the 8-man football, especially here in the South. Now, there are 2 championship games left to play. Actually, I think there's 3. Yeah, 3. So you have the AISA this Thursday. It's Cornerstone Christian Columbiana taking on Macon East Academy. That game's on Thursday, and we'll work on trying to find a way to watch it, but I don't know who's doing it. We'll work on it. You also have the GIAA championship game coming up on, I want to say Thursday. This upcoming Thursday. Yep, it's the same one. And it's going to be a good one too. Westminster Schools of Augusta, they're 8-0. They missed a bunch of games because of Hurricane Helene coming through the city of Augusta, Georgia. But they are unbeaten, and they are taking on Sherwood Christian, who is 10-0 and has rolled through their season. They've handled all their opponents. They beat Harvester Christian 50-44. Last Friday, Westminster Schools of Augusta beat Georgia Christian 45-14. Harvester coming into that game only had 1 loss. Georgia Christian coming into that game only had 1 loss, and now both of them have 2. Sherwood and Westminster unbeaten. So it'll be a really, really good championship game. Actually, I lied. There's 2 more. So you have the SCISA Skisa in South Carolina, and that game is coming up on next Friday night. It's going to be Richard Wynn Academy, 11-0. Last year came up just a little bit short in the championship game. They're taking on Lawrence Academy. Now this is interesting because last Friday night, Lawrence, and let me back up. Richard Wynn beat Wardlaw Academy, who was 8-2, 31-12. But Lawrence Academy came into the game against Jefferson Davis Academy, who had only lost 2 games all year. And that was to one of them was to the Pack Panthers. The other one was, well, no, they lost 1 game. I don't know why it's in there twice, but they'd only lost 1 other game to the Pack Panthers earlier this season. JDA rolling through the season, and Lawrence with a big, big upset win, 34-28, to put themselves in the championship game against Richard Wynn Academy. And again, that'll be this Friday. And again, we'll try to figure out a way to watch it. And then the other championship, the last one that I forgot to mention, actually there's 2 of them. So MAIS 1A, Briarfield Academy at 11-1. They'll take on Wilkinson County Christian at 10-4. And so that's for MAIS 1A. And then MAIS 2A will be DeSoto Academy at 11-0, taking on Tunica Academy at 10-2. And River Oaks was the 1A champion before all this stuff went down. So you got to wonder where they would have fit in here. I think they would have ended up playing Briarfield. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they did beat Briarfield during the season. Let me see. Yes, they did beat Briarfield. So River Oaks 1A would have been theirs. They would have won that. So Wilkinson County Christian, Briarfield, and then what did I say? DeSoto. Let's see, I forgot. Let me see. Let me pull it up real quick. It's going to be DeSoto and Tunica playing for the 2A championship there in the MAIS. So good luck to all those teams. We'll do a post sometime this week, maybe next week, talking about champions, teams that have taken their conference championships, and done really well with it. So, congratulations to all those folks. Those games are coming up. Let me back up. So, those championship games are coming up. The ones that have been played, let's talk about those. So, let's start in North Carolina. You had the NCISAA championship game. Cary Christian taking on JP2, who upset APA Arundel Parrott last week, or 2 weeks ago. So Friday, got a chance to watch the game. It was being broadcast. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I did get to watch the end. Final score, Cary Christian 14, JP2 13. What a ball game it was. Came down to the end. JP2 went for 2 points and came up just a little bit short, and Cary was able to run the clock out on offense and handle business. Got to take a sweet tea break. Does it get better than Milo's sweet tea being drunk out of a Tennessee mug? I don't think so. You can try and find one. Try and find something better than that. Let me know. And by the way, what better setting to do the show? Out on a covered porch with the temperature, what is it? 75? Yeah, 75, low 74. Just out here doing the show. Great way to wrap up the season. Anyways, complete squirrel moment. Wow. Okay. Other championships that happened this past weekend. Heartland Christian Athletic Conference on Friday had their 2A and 3A championship games. 2A was Southwest Christian taking on Crossover Prep. Southwest comes away with a 58-22 win to claim the 2A championship there in the Heartland Christian Athletic Conference. Came up short last year, got the job done this year. And then Sunrise Christian, 30-48 over Abundant Life. Abundant Life unbeaten coming into that game. Sunrise Christian handles business, and they have the 3A championship as theirs. So congratulations to Sunrise and Southwest Christian. Let's see, what other championship games were last week? I think we talked about Virginia. Florida, state of Florida, had some championship games last week. On Saturday, Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, 60-53 over Hernando Christian. I'll talk about that one in a little bit more in a minute, but in a couple minutes. But what a ball game there. That was the 3A championship. So Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, one loss on the year, and it came to Countryside Christian, who was in the state championship game. So the way that Sunshine State Athletic Association, SSAA, does it is they have the state championship with the absolute two best teams, and that was Shorecrest Prep, who won that game 47-12. They finished the season 11-0 with a win over Countryside Christian, who finishes at 8-3. But they do a state championship, and then they have a 3-2 and 1A, depending on different levels of brackets. So congratulations to Foundation Christian Academy, 34-0 win over Academy at the Lakes. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think the other one was City of Life Christian over Cornerstone, 32-14. So congratulations to them. That was the 1A championship. Yeah. And Countryside Christian, by the way, I talked about this on the show last week. Huge upset over Merritt Island Christian, who was 11-0, and then that's how Countryside kind of put themselves in the situation to play. I think we got robbed, though, of a Merritt Island Christian versus Shorecrest Prep. I mean, that's the game everybody wanted to see, and we got robbed of it thanks to Countryside Christian playing spoiler. But congratulations to Shorecrest Prep, Foundation Christian, and Florida School for the Deaf and Blind on all of their championship wins this past weekend. Let's see, who else do we have? I think that's it, because we had a show last Sunday recapping all the championship games from that weekend. So congratulations to all those champs. We've posted pictures of some of them. We'll be posting others this week. kind of doing a recap of all of the champions. Right now, I want to take some time, and I have not ranked these. I'm going to mention each one of them. This is not the order that I think these games are in, because that can be completely up for debate. There's different factors and a whole lot of different things, but just as a whole, right? If you get a chance to watch a football game, I want to give you my top 10 games of the season. I do have 3 honorable mentions as well, and I'll talk about each of them a little bit. So my honorable mentions, I just mentioned Florida School for the Deaf and Blind taking on Hernando Christian for the 3A championship there in the state of Florida. I want to give them an honorable mention. That final score, 60-53. At the half, though, it was only 21-14. Hernando Christian was up. And then in the third quarter, Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, they put up 4 touchdowns, put up 32 points. Hernando Christian only gets 8. And then in the fourth quarter, FSDB only puts up 2 touchdowns, so they score 14 points. Hernando Christian comes back with 24 points in the fourth quarter. Matter of fact, let me break down the fourth quarter real quick. And shout out to Chris Samanek for doing the max prep scoring. I got to try to find where the fourth quarter starts. Let's see. There we go. So in the fourth quarter, FSDB was up 46-35. Hernando Christian with a rushing touchdown, 2 points. Conversion attempt was good. So it was 46-29. Touchdown, 2 point, 46-37. And then they recover a fumble. Hernando Christian does. Scores a touchdown, gets the 2 point. Makes it a 46-45 game. And then FSDB 45-yard touchdown run makes it 52-45. So at that point, it's a 7-point game. Yeah, 7-point game. And then the 2-point conversion attempt was good, so it's a 9-point game. Florida adds another touchdown to make it 60-45. Hernando Christian, they don't get the 2-point. Hernando Christian answers back with a touchdown and gets the 2-point to make it 60-53. Hernando Christian ended up getting the ball, and I don't know why or how, but they ended up getting the ball at FSDB's 33-yard line. And then they end up turning the ball over on downs. And from there, Florida School for the Deaf and Blind runs out the clock. So I think that deserves an honorable mention for top games of the year. Just the amount of points, the fact that there was some defensive play, just a back and forth ball game, and it was for a championship. So I want to give an honorable mention there. I'd also like to give an honorable mention to Cornerstone Rainsville versus Tabernacle Christian back on September 6th, coming out of the CFA. This one kind of under the radar a little bit, but it really, really came down to the last quarter, fourth quarter. At the half, it was tied at 14. Tabernacle pulls ahead in the third quarter by 4, and you can watch this one on YouTube. I know for sure. Tabernacle Christian with their broadcast crew putting this one on. But in the fourth quarter, Tabernacle had a touchdown. Cornerstone Christian, though, 2 touchdowns of their own, including a bomb to Jake Nelson from Jess to Jake. And Cornerstone Christian Rainsville pulls out the win in that one, 38-32. So that gets an honorable mention for me. And then also another honorable mention, Crisp Academy versus Covenant Academy. August 23rd, this one coming out of the GIAA. And we'll get to the game real quick because these folks did a great job of covering it. So first quarter, tied at 6. No scoring in the second, no scoring in the third. A lot of defense. In the fourth quarter, it went one of two ways. I haven't looked at the video yet or seen the game tracker, but either Crisp Academy scored 6 and then Covenant scored 7 for the win, or Covenant scored 7 and then Crisp scored 6 and couldn't jump them. Either way, either way, it's either a defensive stand by Covenant at the end or an offensive playmaking, playmaking from Covenant Academy. So again, Covenant Academy, Crisp Academy, 13-12. Covenant with the win, August 23rd. That gets an honorable mention from me. Okay, so I said I wasn't ranking these, so honorable mention really doesn't matter. So I guess it's the top 13, really. For me, another game that was one of the games of the year. Back on August 10th, you had the first Freedom and Pack game. Pack ended up winning that one 14-12. Back and forth all game. As you can see, very low-scoring game, which is interesting because it was an 8-man game played on a 53.5 by 100-yard field. So full-size football field, 8-man game, and it's 14-12. It goes to show you. Now, both teams do run the ball a lot. But Pack up 14-8, or 14-6 rather. Freedom gets the touchdown in the fourth quarter and cannot get the 2-point to tie it up. It was a great way to kick off the season. Lancaster Christian and Christian Community School on October 25th, coming out of the SEEC. It was the first round of the playoffs, these two teams matching up. Earlier in the year, they played Christian Community with a big win over Lancaster Christian, but in this one, I mean, it was back and forth between Christian Community and Lancaster. Let me back up, and I'll pull up the box score real quick because I think it was updated. Yes. No, it was not updated. Let me see. No, it wasn't updated. But from talking to people who were at the game, it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and just craziness. Absolute craziness. Gotta love getting texts in the middle of the game, in the middle of the show. But absolute great game there in the playoffs. So I definitely want to give a shout out to that one. Another one, Acadiana Christian taking on John Paul the Great. This is October 26th, the next day. This is the ACEL championship game. Got a chance to watch this one thanks to 446 Sports on YouTube. And great ball game, just tied, went to overtime. JPG scores, gets the 2-point. Acadiana scores, and then they come up about a yard short on the 2-point conversion attempt. So JPG ended up winning it 22-20. But it was a lot of fun to watch. It was a great way to spend a Saturday night. Shout out to both of those teams. September 21st, you had Tennessee School for the Deaf and Arkansas School for the Deaf. This one at TSD, and it did this one as well. Went to overtime. Just an absolute dogfight in that one. Let me back up and pull up the box score. TSD up 14-8 at the end of the first quarter. Arkansas outscores them 20-14 at the in the second quarter. At the half, it was tied at 28. TSD put a touchdown on the board in the third quarter. Arkansas put a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then TSD scored, got the 2-point conversion. Arkansas scored, could not get the 2-point conversion attempt. So it was a great ball game from talking to Coach Bowen, who was there, but I definitely want to give that game a shout out. Another game I want to talk about is Arundel Parrott taking on Halifax Academy, August 29th, and a lot of people maybe not paying attention to this one, but of course it was early on in the season. There's a little bit of recency bias, but this one was a great ball game. Let me pull up the recap real quick. I don't think the game tracker was up, but Halifax Academy actually, and everyone knows Arundel Parrott, only 2 losses on the year. One was the upset to JP2 in the semifinal rounds of the playoffs. The other one to Evangel Christian up in Gatlinburg. So Arundel Parrott's rolling. Halifax only finished 4-7 on the year. So you don't think, okay, well, 4-7 team, or a team that's going to finish 4-7, would do this, but they were actually up 22-12 in the first quarter. APA outscores them in the second 24-13, so it's 36-35 at the half. APA up. Halifax 14 points in the third quarter. APA 8, and then APA able to put up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to pull ahead 58-49. So just a back and forth game there, a lot of offense. So I want to give that game a shout out. And that was out of the NCISAA. In the SCISA, SCISA, November 8th, Wardlaw and Holly Hill. This was the playoffs for SCISA. And Holly Hill came in at 8-2. Wardlaw Academy came in, I want to say they came in at 7-2. And Wardlaw Academy, 46-44 win there against Holly Hill. Just a back-and-forth game. First quarter, at the end of the first quarter, it was 8-6. At the half, 8-6 Wardlaw. At the half, Holly Hill, 22-16, had the lead. And then they actually pulled ahead, 30-16 in the third quarter with about 7 minutes left. Wardlaw comes back, scores a touchdown to make it 30-24, scores another one to make it 38-22. 30-22. Holly Hill scores a touchdown to make it 38-32. And then Wardlaw Academy ties it up at 38. And then with about 4 minutes left, they score another touchdown to make it 46-38. Holly Hill, with about 3 minutes left, scores to make it 46-44. And then Wardlaw ended up closing out the game and running the clock out. So really great ball game down in South Carolina in the quarterfinal rounds. Was it the quarterfinal? Yes, because the semis were last week. So quarterfinal round of the playoffs. So really, really good ball game there. Another one I want to mention that people may not have paid attention to, Sunrise Christian and Central Christian. These are two teams. I know it's not the South. I get it. Sunrise plays in a conference that I would consider to be sort of in the South. Arkansas, maybe, depend. If you're going off of SEC standards, Arkansas is in the South, okay? But Sunrise Christian playing in a conference that has some teams that, quote-unquote, could be the South. Playing Central Christian. I apologize for the yawn. Playing Central Christian out of Hutchinson, Kansas, and let me pull up the box score real quick, because I did look at these, but I didn't memorize what happened on them. And of course, this was an early season game between the Buffaloes and then, let's see, what's Central Christian's mascot? They are the Cougars. So Central Christian finished the season with only 2 losses. One of them being in this game to Sunrise Christian, who got the win 54-50, but just a great ball game. I think it was good. You had some field goals in there. I mean, the first quarter ended 8-3. Sunrise got the field goal. Central got the touchdown. At the half, your score was 26-24 Sunrise. I mean, another field goal from Sunrise, some touchdowns in there. Third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, it was 40-30. And then as we get later into the ball game, let's see. So at the end of the third quarter, it was 40-30. Central scores a touchdown, gets the 2 point to make it 40-38. Sunrise gets a touchdown and the extra point, make it 47-38. Central gets a touchdown, missed the 2 point, 47-44. Sunrise got another touchdown, 53-44, and then Central 54-44, and then Central got a touchdown. 2 point conversion was no good. Failed the onside kick, and Sunrise ran the clock out. So Sunrise 54-50 winner in that one. Number 3 for me, not number 3, but another game that I did not rank these. So I have number 3 beside it to help me organize how many games, but this is not necessarily the third game of the season for me in terms of best games. But Cornerstone Christian Columbiana taking on Evangel Christian Montgomery out of the AISA, and this one on October the 18th there at the end of the season. Big ball game there. Cornerstone unbeaten going into the playoffs. They got one game left to play against Evangel Christian Montgomery. I'll talk about that in a second. But Cornerstone Christian leading 20-6 at the end of the first quarter, and there were some issues with Cornerstone with health. No scoring in the second quarter. Evangel Christian Montgomery makes it a they scored 2 touchdowns. Cornerstone scores 1, makes it a 26-20 game at the end of the third quarter. Evangel Christian Montgomery makes it a 26-all game in the fourth quarter. Cornerstone Christian Columbiana answers back 34-26, and then they got the defensive stop. Matter of fact, I think Malachi Adams was the defensive player of the week in that one. So really, really good ball game there. And to me, it's in the top, I guess it'd be the top 13, technically, top 13 games of the season. Another one I want to mention that I almost forgot about, Ezekiel Academy and Evangel Christian Montgomery. This was an ACSC versus AISA matchup. And I don't have the box score, so I don't know exactly how it went, but Ezekiel ended up winning 44-42. I know it was a comeback for Ezekiel, so I do want to give that one a shout out. I might give him an honorable mention too. Another game I want to talk about, East Central Patriots and Southern Christian Patriots, back on September the 20th. This game in the ACSC, pretty much for the second seed in that conference, but about a middle of the season game for the two of them, but an absolute barn burner. Southern Christian led 13-6 at the end of the first quarter. East Central scored 20 in the second. Southern Christian scored 7, so at the half, East Central led 26-20. Southern Christian came back, outscored them 13-8 in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, East Central throws a touchdown pass, doesn't get the 2-point conversion. It's 42-33 with about 5 minutes left in the game. So they went back and forth for the first part of the fourth quarter. About 6 minutes left in the game. Southern Christian tries a field goal, no good. Next possession, East Central fumbles. Southern Christian gets the ball. 2 plays later, East Central intercepts. So they fumbled, and then they get the ball back. They try and run the clock down, but they get the fourth down. They end up punting. They made Southern Christian use all their timeouts. And then Elijah Bailey scored for Southern Christian. Gitman shook for East Central through the touchdown pass to Jamin O'Neal to put them at 42. And then Elijah Bailey was the one who scored for Southern Christian in the fourth quarter. They get the 2-point conversion. Unsuccessful onside kick attempt from Southern Christian. And 42-41, East Central with the win there. The last game I want to mention was one of the games I mentioned earlier from down here in Florida. Maybe it's recency bias, but that was one of the best games I've ever seen. It might be the best game I've ever seen. It's definitely the best national championship game that I've seen. I'm gonna put it above 2019. Love you, Evangel. Love you, Ezel Harding. Miss you. Think you should still be an 8-man. But to me, Pack and Freedom from just 2 days ago, one of the best games I've ever seen. Of course, you can go watch it right here on 8-Man Extreme. Spencer and Eli on the call for that one, and they did a great job. So there's that. That to me. That's probably the 13, 14 best games of the season. A lot of football games played throughout the season. So that to me, that's the cream of the crop, top of the top. I know I missed a game here or there. If I missed a game, let me know. I'm looking for close games, overtime games, comeback games, stuff like that. So just let me know. I want to give a shout out to some of the best performances from this season, and I know obviously Fairlife Core Power Protein helped us recognize young men every single week, an offensive and defensive player of the week. First off, I want to give a big thank you. Talking about the players of the week, I want to give a big thank you to a few people who helped with determining that. So the way we did it is if there were stats on Max Preps or someone sent me the stats, those got put into a list, and we had all the offensive players of the week listed or nominees listed, all the defensive nominees listed, and then there was a committee who voted on their pick for player of the week on offense and defense. So I want to give a shout out to a couple people real quick. I want to give a shout out to Coach Clint Chase, former coach at Tabernacle Christian. These are the people on the committee who voted. Coach Clint Chase from Tabernacle Christian, formerly at Tabernacle Christian. Coach Hunter Wilson, former coach at Ezekiel Academy. Helped pick the offensive and defensive. Helped pick offensive and defensive player of the week. Want to give a shout out to J.D. Young, former player for the Tennessee Heat, went on to play collegiately at Kentucky Christian University. Shout out to Blake Biggs, former star at Sacred Heart of Jesus High School in Jackson, former All-American as well. He was on the committee. Shout out to Coach Seth Bass, former coach at McLean Christian here in Tennessee, and then he went up to Missouri. He was a coach at North Shelby and Northland Christian on the committee. And then a shout out to Mr. Andrew Capps over at Rocky Top Sports World. He was on the committee as well. So he had a 6-person committee. They got the list of nominees. They all voted. Majority vote was the person that got selected. So I want to give a big thank you to all 6 of those men for helping pick the offensive and defensive players of the week this year. But that being said, obviously there were guys that got picked and there were guys that did not get picked. And I want to give a shout out to some of those guys. I'm going to pick through some very special performances that got these players nominated for this. I don't know that I'm going to get East Central and Tennessee Heat was good, 47-44. I'll give you that. That was a good ball game. I'll put that up there. We'll do a top 15. Top 15. East Central and Tennessee Heat from here at the NHFA tournament. That game was Saturday, and you can watch that one right here on 8-Man Extreme. But a great game, bought back and forth, and some defense, had a lot of offense. So that was a good one. I should have kept up with the dates. I think I can do the dates like this. Yeah, let's do that. So the first person I want to shout out is Mason Burr from Halifax Academy, back on October 11th. Yes, October 11th. Let me get Max Preps pulled up here for Halifax Academy. Coming out of the NCISAA. On the 11th, it was Halifax taking on Howard School, and Halifax came up short. Mason Burr completed 56% of his passes for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then he also carried the ball 27 times for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. Halifax comes up short 50-49 to Howard School, but to me, that was one of the best performances of the season. So congratulations to Mason on being nominated. Benji Moore from First Baptist Christian out of the ACEL, also on October 11th. 26 carries for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. Let's see, defensive performances. Kane Dupuis from Sherwood Christian on October 11th, 13 tackles, 11 of those being solo, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and Dupuis and Sherwood Christian won the game that day 40 to 30. So congratulations to him. Colt Bailey, he won Offensive Player of the Week back on, I want to say it was October the 18th. Colt Bailey, 20 carries for 305 yards and 5 touchdowns. Wardlaw ended up winning that game 34-26. Davis Foster back on October 18th, playing for Hebron Christian, 19 tackles, 11 solo, and 3 tackles for loss. Jamorian Scott for Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, they played on October 19th, I believe, maybe the 17th. 14 tackles, 11 solo, and a tackle for loss, and FSDB won that game 50-46. Let's see. Let's see who didn't win. Greg Johnson from Springwood School. This would have been for, let's see, the 8th. This would have been for October the 4th. Yes, October the 4th. Greg Johnson from Springwood School, 9 tackles, 7 of them being solo, and then 3 sacks. Helped his team get the 88-58 win in that one. Let's see. This would be for September the 27th. Samuel Smith out of Slidell Homeschool Saints. 60% of his passes for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 19 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. They lost 26-18. Mason Warsham from Fishburne Military Academy. 13 carries, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Helped his team win 22-12. Paul Berg from Donahue Catholic, 20 carries for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. They won 40-26. Jordan Grimes from Tennessee School for the Deaf. Talked about that game with Arkansas School for the Deaf, but in that one, Grimes had 15 tackles and an interception, so a huge part of the defense. Cameron Carnes also that weekend, 18 tackles, 9 of them being solo, and then 1 tackle for loss, and they won 38-28. Let's see. Bodie Handwork from Merritt Island Christian. This would have been for, let's see, it's September 23rd, so it would have been for September 20th. Completed 58% of his passes for 256 yards and 5 touchdowns, and Merritt Island won that one 34-29. Nikita Getmanshook from East Central on September the 20th, 60% completion percentage for 305 yards and 5 touchdowns. That was the East Central Southern Christian game that East Central won 42-41. I just talked about it a couple minutes ago. Colby Harrison from Cornerstone Christian Rainsville on the same day, September 20th, 40 carries for 250 yards and 5 touchdowns. Cornerstone Rainsville ended up losing that game 64-46, but great effort from that young man. Talking about the East Central Southern Christian game, Judah Bush from East Central, 15 tackles, 8 of them being solo, 3 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and a fumble recovery. In that one, Nathaniel Whiting the same day, 13 tackles, 10 of them solo, 1 PD, and 1 forced fumble. Trey Nevid from Merritt Island Christian, same day, 18 tackles, 10 of those being solo, and 3 tackles for a loss. They won 34-29. Let's see. Brennan Davis that game I talked about against Evangel Christian Montgomery. 23 carries for 423 yards and 4 touchdowns. Trying to see who else. Mike Barnett from the Carolina Wildcats. And this would have been for August 23rd. 23 carries for 423 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's the one Ezekiel beat Evangel 44-42. Lance Johnson from Delta Academy on the same day. 57% completion percentage for 128 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then 19 carries for 324 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Delta Academy won their game that day 58-56 down there in the MAIS. Caleb Hardy from Lawrence Academy in South Carolina, 16 tackles, 11 of them being solo, 5 passes defensed. And then his teammate Garrison Vaughn, 14 tackles, 9 solo, 4.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, a quarterback hurry, and a blocked punt. I think we did name him a player of the week. JT Hayes from Covenant Academy that day, 14 tackles, 11 solo. That's the win over Crisp Academy. 14 tackles, 11 of them being solo, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. You know what? I'm going to hold off, and we're going to post. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to post the list of these nominees for Player of the Week one of these upcoming weeks, and we'll notate the date and then who they were playing and the score and all that stuff. But I'm gonna bypass going through all of these. I want to give all of them a opportunity to get a little bit of a shout out there on social media. So we're gonna post those later on. I know I ran through some now, and you're gonna be like, "Well, you didn't talk about mine." We're gonna post them. We're gonna tag you and all that good stuff. Let's see. I want to give a big thank you this season on Extreme Talk. Of course, Sutton Pools LLC. They sponsored all the interviews with all the coaches this season. But I want to give a big thank you to the coaches that hopped on the show all throughout the season, and I have them pulled up here. And the folks that hopped on the show too. There were non-football coaches on, including Mr. Mike St. Dennis from the NHFA tournament. The guy he runs it now. Lael Barkman from the Fort Wayne Kings Crusaders. He hopped on the show. Andrew Capps from Rocky Top Sports World was on multiple times to talk about things with the Gatlinburg All-American Bowl Series. Let's see. Glenn Lott, head coach from Macon East Academy. Of course, they're going to play for the AISA Championship on Thursday. Stephen King from the Chattanooga Patriots hopped on the show with us on September 29th. Coach Tommy Miller from Jacksonville Christian Academy hopped on the show on September 22nd. And, of course, JCA won the CFA Championship over Russell Christian. Coach Bo Barton had him on the show on the 22nd as well from River Oaks School. And they ended up winning the Division II championship game. But a big thank you to Coach Barton for taking time to hop on the show. Coach Jason Scott from Southern Christian. Speaking of that game, Coach Jason Scott from Southern Christian had him on the show on September 25th, as well as Carol Olivier from Acadiana Christian. They ended up playing for the ACEL championship game. Coach Chris Wood from the Coastal Hurricanes had him on the show on September 8th, and they just came down and played in the tournament. Coach Greg Ferguson from Southwest Christian winning the Heartland Christian Athletic Conference 2A championship. So thank you to him for coming on the show. Coach Tim Bolden from the KC East Lions hopped on September 1st. Coach Trevor Reed from Harvester Christian also hopped on the show. Big thank you to him. Coach Andy Palmer from Holly Hill Academy on August the 25th hopped on the show, as well as Coach Bubba Weidman, Andrew Weidman from Brunswick Academy, who just won the VISFL Division 2 championship, Division 1, Division 2, one of the two. Um, and then Holly Hill knocked out of the playoffs by Wardlaw Academy. Coach Nate Carr from Hebron Christian hopped on the show August the 18th. And Coach James Lee from Cornerstone Christian Columbiana, who's playing for the AISA Championship this Thursday. They both hopped on the show August 18th, so big thank you to them. Let's see here. Make sure. Coach Tim Moore from Russell Christian hopped on the show August the 11th, as well as Andrew Capps from Rocky Top Sports World. Coach Daniel Smith from the Central Patriots on August the 4th hopped on the show. Coach Matt Beeman from Arundel Parrott, he also did, previewing both of their matchups in the Black Bear Brawl up in Gatlinburg. Coach Travis Creasy from Riverside Christian Academy on July 28th, as well as Coach James Honeycutt from the Magnolia Wildcats. Both of them hopped on the show that day. Big thank you to them. Coach Josiah Davis from Tabernacle Christian hopped on the show July 21st. Coach Michael Crawley from South Haven Christian School hopped on as well. Let's see. Coach Reese Donahue from Coosa Valley Academy and Coach Arthur Marshall from Georgia School for Innovation in the Classics. They played for the SIFA Championship not last weekend, but 2 weekends ago. They're in the SIFA. And then one last person to thank, Coach Tim Smith hopped on the show a couple weeks ago, November the 3rd, and we talked about their championship game coming up and everything that had happened this season. We talked to Coach Smith about that. So big thank you to all these coaches. It really does mean a lot when these coaches take time out of their schedule to come on the show, take 20, 25 minutes, and talk a little football, talk about their team, the season, answer questions about it. So it's fun to have a conversation with these coaches, with these men. A lot of great things gleaned from them. I also want to give a shout out, by the way, to Coach Kyle Collins and Coach Tim Yeomans. I mentioned the live edition of Extreme Talk last Friday that we had down here in Florida. We had Coach Barton and Coach Scott for the D2 championship, and then Coach Collins and Coach Yeomans on for the D1 championship. So a big thank you to them for hopping on the show on Friday. Had the live audience, had a lot of fun with that. But a big thank you to those coaches. Had to get a little Milo Sweet Tea out of the Tennessee Cup. Nothing better. A big thank you to all those coaches for hopping on the show this season. Had a lot of fun. A lot of great conversations with these men. And, of course, you can go back and listen to all the conversations here on our YouTube channel. I want to give a big thank you. I talked about them at the top of the show. But Complete Real Estate LLC for sponsoring the show this season. Ryan Scott's with Complete Real Estate, and I've been a partner for a couple of years now. But big thank you to them. Big thank you to Sutton Pools LLC, Brian Sutton, for being a sponsor of the interviews that we did every week with coaches. Of course, we do it over the phone, but didn't have just coaches, had people around the game of 8-man football. So big thank you to Sutton Pools LLC for sponsoring the interviews. And then a thank you to Fairlife Core Power Protein, Mr. Rob Schroeder, for being supportive of that and handling getting product. Now, we are behind on getting product out. I will fess up to that. I've been just way behind on getting it out. I will try to get some of it shipped out, possibly once we get back. It's going to be pretty hectic. If you were at the Gatlinburg All-American Bowl, here's what we'll do. If you're going to be at the Gatlinburg All-American Bowl, or you know someone that will, may be able to give it to you there and kind of get you squared away, get you ready for basketball or whatever sport's coming up for you. Make sure you're going to be able to recover from practice or from a game. I mean, it's the best stuff, top-notch stuff. But a big thank you to Fairlife Core Power and Mr. Rob Schroeder for helping us recognize these athletes every single season or every single week. They've done it for the last couple seasons, and so very excited. There's There's a helicopter overhead. All right, all right. I think we're pretty much clear. The last couple thank yous I'd like to give out are for people that helped this whole thing move all season long. The first one I want to give out is to Mr. Scott Matthews. Um, got to start working with him last season, and all these graphics that you guys see for the show, for the games, for whatever, even for Player of the Week. Um, he does stuff for the SEC for the conference. But the graphics that he does, I mean, top notch. I struggle to make a stick figure, right? And I can just throw information to him, and he throws back a graphic, and I'm like, it should literally be illegal for someone to be able to do this, and as fast as he's able to turn it around and get it back. Especially this weekend, he got a lot of the graphics back pretty quickly. So a big thank you to Mr. Scott Matthews. He's a huge part of why the presentation of all the information this year had such a professional look to it. A big thank you to him. I want to give a big thank you to the crew. We had a crew for the games this past weekend. We had a crew for the Black Bear Brawl at Rocky Top Sports World in August. So first and foremost, Spencer Tomset, been my right hand man, and he's in school for broadcasting, but both times coming back to help with it, helping with recruiting, getting talent to both of the events. Guys like Alex Chasen, Theodore Fernandez, Will Morrow, ladies like Kate Atchinson. I ought to know this. Like, legitimately ought to know this. Hold on. I don't want to mess up. Kate, hold on. I don't want to mess up your last name. Atchinson. Okay. I was right. Eleanor Roadhouse. Both of those ladies helped with the Florida tournament. And then both of them helped with the CFA championship game. Kate helped with the SEEK championship. Will Morrow also helped with the SEEK championship with the broadcast. I want to give a big thank you to them. I want to give a big thank you to Eli Cornett for helping call the SEEK championship and then several games down here in Florida. Mr. Blake Biggs helped call the CFA championship there in Tuscaloosa, and he also helped with the Black Bear Brawl back in August, as well as Mr. Brendan Davis. Not Brendan Davis. I don't know why I was thinking Brendan Davis. Brendan Daniel helped with the Black Bear Brawl back in August with color commentary and then behind the scenes camera work, stuff like that. So a big thank you to him for helping with that. I mean, we had a great crew the whole time. It was fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it. Trying to think crew-wise if there was any. Spencer, Blake, Eli, Brennan, Kate, Eleanor, Alex, Will, Theodore, and Eli. Maybe I said Eli twice. But that was the crew that helped with games all season long. So big, big thank you to them. The games y'all watched this past weekend, and how obviously the first game each day was a little rough trying to get some things up and running, but as the day went on, everything was clicking smoothly. Everything y'all saw, the championship game, the way that Spencer and Eli called it, Will Morrow was directing the shots, Eleanor, Kate, and Alex were on cameras. Theodore had his hits. How about Theodore though? He did the interview with Coach Collins at the 5-minute mark before the second half. Raced across the field, did an interview with Coach Yeomans at the 3-minute mark, and then after the second half kickoff, did a sideline hit from another part of the field. So big shout out to Theodore on the sideline and all the guys and ladies that did sideline reporting down here in Florida. But none of this is possible without them. It takes a crew to make the whole thing happen. We had an absolute unit of a crew. So big thank you to everybody that was involved with that. Want to give a big thank you to Mr. Mike St. Dennis, not only for hosting us this past weekend, and just being awesome to work with in terms of covering the tournament, but also back in August. I don't remember if I told this story, but Theodore Fernandez was gonna come up and help with the Gatlinburg All American Bowl, or the Black Bear Brawl rather, and he was gonna take a Greyhound bus from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the Red School is, to Atlanta, and then take a Greyhound from Atlanta to Knoxville, and then I was gonna pick him up in Knoxville on Friday night. Well, around Birmingham, they hit traffic, and it slowed the bus down, and so he missed his connection from Atlanta to Knoxville. And so he was stuck in Atlanta, stuck at the Atlanta Greyhound bus station, and little crazy, but I said, okay, let's pack up. I'm gonna pack up. I'm gonna drive to Atlanta and grab him and bring him back. About a 4-hour round trip, or 4-hour trip one way, 8 hours round trip. We were gonna get back way early in the morning, and I called Mr. St. Dennis, and they live in the Atlanta area, and I asked him, hey, I said, would you bring Theodore out of Atlanta as far as you can until we meet, intersect, and then I'll grab him, we'll go back. So Mike packed up, drove into town to the bus station, grabbed Theodore, brought him an hour outside of Atlanta, cut 2 hours off of my drive time, kept Theodore from sitting there by himself for any longer than he had to, and really, really very thankful to Mike for making that happen. And those are the kind of stories people don't see behind the scenes. That's what goes into broadcasting these tournaments and these games and pulling stuff like this off. So big thank you to Mike. Thank you to Mr. Andrew Capps for hosting us and helping us. Of course, they put on the Black Bear Brawl, the All-American Series. But a big thank you to him. He's been awesome to work with and very encouraging. It's been a fun relationship with him to kind of work through everything we need to work through. So I really, really appreciate everything. Excuse me, everything that he has done. That's the crew, coaches, sponsors. Trying to make sure if there's anybody I missed. I don't want to miss anybody. Oh, thank you to all of you who have watched the game broadcast this season. The ones who have listened to Extreme Talk, to listen to me ramble for an hour and a half. Big thank you to you. It's honestly an honor and a pleasure to try and cover these young men. And I know I speak for the crew when I say that. But a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in and supported. All the kind words, the text, the encouragement. It really does mean a lot. It really goes a long way. So big, big thank you for that. And then last but absolutely not least, certainly not least, I'd like to give a big thank you to my family. My wife, Monica, my kids, Annabelle, Eli, Isaac. Gone a lot during the season, not as much now. I'm not really at a game every week. Broadcasting, I'm able to go to games and take my kids with me, and we kind of have a little date night there. But every Sunday, usually leave the house, and then I'm gone for about 2 hours, maybe just over 2 hours between show prep and then wrapping up. But they put up with me throughout the season, being gone for a couple hours on Sunday. All the time I spend during the week on the phone, texting, emails, behind-the-scenes work on everything. Very, very supportive. So I want to give a big thank you to my family, my wife. She's the real rock star in the whole thing, and it's very awesome to be able to bring them down to Florida, let them go to the beach, let them take them out and have fun, and still be gone for multiple days all day. But still, on the off days, be able to spend time with them. Big thank you to them today. I mean, I've been on here for an hour, just over an hour, doing a recap show, and just being awesome about it. A big thank you to them. That's about it. I think I got all the thank yous. I think I covered everything. And that'll do it. I mentioned there's a few championship games this week. We'll post about those next week. AISA Championship on Thursday, SCISA Championship on Thursday. I think MAIS, I said the 2 games were on Friday, and then GIAA, I think, is on Thursday as well. SCISA might be on Friday. But we will post about those next week. And then, of course, don't forget Gatlinburg All-American game, the 8-man game, the 11-man game, the Rising Stars game, all coming up December 14th in Gatlinburg. We'll keep sharing stuff on social media. We'll be there broadcasting every single game. We'll get some mic'd up footage, and we're going to continue to try and cover these young men and give them the coverage and the recognition that they deserve. It's really an honor and pleasure to do it, and it's all possible because of you guys tuning in and the encouragement and everything that you guys do for myself and for my crew. So big thank you for all of that. It's been a fun season. What a ride. What a ride. Couldn't have asked for anything more. One final time this season, want to give a big thank you to Complete Real Estate for sponsoring the show every single week. Want to give a big thank you to Sutton Pools LLC for sponsoring our interviews all season long. Big thank you to Fairlife Core Power Protein for helping us recognize these athletes. Thank you to you for tuning in. This has been the 2024 season debut, season finale, rather, of Extreme Talk. We'll be in Gatlinburg in December. And then next July, we'll fire it right back up. But until next August, there's only one thing left to say. See ya!